Okay, so this video is very similar, but it is just going to show you how to do this similar sum, but with 3 or more fractions. So it's the exact same method, you'll just find that it's a little bit longer. So if you remember, step 1, and the question here is either to simplify or to write as a single fraction. So it's really important that you can identify what you're being asked. So the first thing we're going to do, if you remember from the last video, the first thing is you need to find your new denominator. And you do that by multiplying the ones that you have. So 2 by 3 by 5. And again, there is other ways to do it. You'll see in the textbook or on other videos online, they might say to find the lowest common multiple and so on. But I find that this is actually as I said, this will work every time. You don't need to think about this. You don't need to ask yourself if you can use this method. You'll be able to use this method every time. And it's the same sort of 3 or 4 steps. So that's why I prefer this method. Then what you're going to do is you are going to take your first numerator. So remember, we start from the left. So our first numerator, or the first top of the fraction, is 4x plus 1. So I'm going to write that down and I'm going to put it in brackets. I'm just going to extend this line a little bit. And then remember what we said was you're going to multiply that by the other denominators, or the denominators it is not over. So we forget about that fraction because the 4x plus 1 is part of that fraction. And we multiply it by the denominators of the other fractions. So forget about the fraction it's part of. And we're going to multiply it by the denominators or the bottom of the other fractions. So here we have a 3. And I'm putting that in brackets just to show that it's multiplied. But there's also a 5 here. So this is where it's different from the last example, because you're going to be multiplying by 2 numbers. And once you've done that, you can move on. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next numerator. So there's a plus sign there, so we put our plus sign down. And the next numerator is 3x minus 5. Again, cover that up or forget about that fraction. And you're going to multiply the 3x minus 5 by the denominators or the bottoms it's not over. So the bottom of the other fraction. So in this case, that's going to be a 5 and a 2. So I'm going to multiply it by a 5 and then by a 2. Again, keep going. So moving on to the last one. So we have a plus. On top, we have a 2x. And then we are going to forget about that fraction. And we are going to multiply it by the bottom of the other fraction, which is a 3 and a 2. And again, this method might seem longer than other methods, but you'll see that it's the same method as if there were 2 fractions. Now there's 3, and it'll work for the equations in the next one as well. So what we're going to do now, you'll notice that if I told you to multiply 10 by 6 and then by 2. So 10 multiplied by 6 is 60, by 2 is 120. Or if I ask you to do 6 by 2 by 10. 6 times 2 is 12, by 10 is 120. So what I'm trying to say there is it doesn't matter. If you're multiplying, it doesn't matter what order you do it in. So I find the easiest way to do it is just to multiply the numbers first of all. So you'll see here, we want to multiply 5 by 3 and then by 4x plus 1. So just multiply the 5 by the 3 first of all. So 5 by 3 is 15. And that's going to be multiplied then by 4x plus 1. 2 by 5 is 10, which is going to be multiplied by 3x minus 5. And 2 by 3 is 6, which is going to be multiplied by 2x. And in the bottom, 2 3s are 6, by 5 is 30. So there's an extra step here. But what we can do then, so once you have that done, it's just like the last question. So we're going to multiply the 15 by the 4x. So 15 multiplied by 4 is going to give me 60x. And then I'm going to multiply the 15 by the 1, which is just 15. Move on to the next part. So 10 by 3x is 30x. And then 10 by minus 5, plus by minus is minus, 10 5s are 50. And then 6 by the 2x, so 6 by 2 is 12. And there's an x there at the end. All over 30. And now anything, so I'm just going to go up here, anything with an x I can add together. So I can add just circle them, the 60, the 30 and the 12. So 60 plus 30 plus 12 is going to give me 102x. And then 15, so I can do 15 take away 50 is going to give me minus 35. And that's all over 30. And again, you can have a look. I'm not sure if there's something that is going to simplify there. I don't think that there is anything that will simplify into each of those. If there is a number at the end that does simplify or divide into each of those numbers, you can divide it in.